Welcome back to the Privated podcast, where we spotlight extraordinary people and remarkable talent reshaping our world. Our guest today is Svetlana Grinchenko. She's the co founder of Strawberry Health, a mission driven health tech company that's changing the game for women's hormonal and fertility wellness. She's a champion for data driven self care, making at home hormone tests feel accessible, empowering, and painless. She's a passionate advocate for women's health. She's a mom and unapologetic croissant ambassador. Svetlana, Svetlana brings warmth and authenticity to everything she does. Hello, Svetlana. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Federico.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. Yeah. I was I've been very interested to learn what you're doing at Strawberry Health. I've been reading a little bit about, but I think it's important to hear it from your point. What are you doing at Strawberry Health?
Yeah, totally. And you've put it together really well.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, so I am the co-founder and chief business officer of Strawberry Health, where we help women take control of their hormonal health and fertility. And we do that through at-home blood um, testing, which is pain-free, super easy, accessible to everyone, and available everywhere in the US. We also provide actionable insights on top of that, like not just numbers that you look at and kind of like a freak out, like you see the red zone somewhere and you're like, oh my God, what's broken? So yeah, this is what we do. And we also a lot of support from the community. So we have community events because for many women, their health journeys and fertility journeys are very lonely. So this is what we do.
Very interesting. Yeah. Um, I, I was going to ask further down the road, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask you, why are you an unapologetic croissant ambassador?
Oh, that's a good one. And it's a hard one because I'm just back from France, where I haven't been for 8 years. And I think my never-ending journey for the best croissants in the area is going to be even harder now because like the benchmark is so high. I just love croissants, and I think croissants makes everything better, and especially things like events or get together. Never dare to talk to people about anything without feeding them first. They will never open up to you. So if it's like an event, always bring croissants. And whenever we host an event, we always try to bring croissants and obviously strawberries. So this is why.
Interesting, interesting. So I'm from Argentina. I moved to Mexico 17 years ago, and it's those things that you get used to and become normal, right? That you don't appreciate until you don't have them anymore. And I haven't tried the croissants in Paris, so I cannot compare. But um, the croissants in Buenos Aires, for me, are the best. And there hasn't been any other croissant that would pretty much get close to it, right? Of course, it's a very subjective, point of view, right? But there is a part of me that it's a flavor of nostalgia, right? And
Totally.
but also there's been a lot of people from Europe that moved to Argentina many years ago. So all the cafes has this high quality croissant um, that in Mexico I couldn't find. You can find some um, similar croissants based, but they're overloaded with sugar, so it doesn't feel the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I've tried. But now it sounds like I am moving up the Argentina, like high on my list of the my next destinations to visit. And you'll have to give me exact names of the places.
Yeah. I can give you a list. I was there in June. It yeah. I mean, I know I'm not objective, right? I'm biased, but the the coffee, the chocolate, the croissants, the well, I call them sanguchito de miga. It's you know, it's bread, jam and bread, a ham and bread, but they cut the corners, so it's only the inners of the bread, right? So oh, it's so delicious, you know. And then they toast it, and oh, and the cheese melt. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Who's ready for lunch? I'm sorry, our listeners. If you haven't been hungry, probably now you are.
Yeah. I was like a kid enjoying all those, traditional desserts and traditional food that you can find there. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to Strawberry Health, what inspired you to start Strawberry Health?
That's a great question. Well, I'm a woman. I'm a mom to a daughter. I'm a daughter as well, and I have been frustrated about like by how little we know about women's health, and I got into this world of women's health when I joined my co-founder, who was leading a sustainable period care company to help her grow. And I just started listening to more and more of our customers, and I have heard like hundreds of stories. And every woman I met had stories to share about how her concerns were dismissed, how she had to navigate complex things on her own, how she felt totally lost, how she basically knows nothing about her own health and she doesn't get help from her doctor, even when she's asking questions. So that was the main motivation. This is something that still drives me to continue building Strawberry Health.
Very interesting. Yeah. I think that it became status quo where it's normal for women to get overloaded with hormones, right? Um, with fertility control, right? All the load and the health hazards for fertility control goes to the woman, and it doesn't have any weight on the men, right? Um, and that's yeah.
Yeah,
And there are, well, I think they're starting to, but I haven't seen one yet. A fertility control for men, right?
yeah, there are some companies who are building new things, but also there are things just exist to date. And I'm still, shocked with the fact like how easily we just put teenage girls on like hormonal birth control without anything like testing before. And sometimes they stay on that birth control for 10 years, 20 years without even knowing what is going on in their bodies. And they only discover it once they get off birth control and they want to have kids. But you never know if you are even have that ability. You have never done anything to get better understanding of that. So a lot of surprises are very unpleasant. A lot of people still get pregnant quite easily, but many families suffer because no one taught women what they are supposed to track, how they're supposed to take care of themselves. It's not common knowledge even now.
Right, right. No, it's lack of information and lack of tools, right? Which is what you're solving with Strawberry Health, right?
Lack of education, lack of support from medical professionals
Right.
who are still not trained in hormones, like even like your regular gynecologist, OBGYN, how they're called here in the United States, or your primary care provider, your doctor, knows almost nothing about hormones if it's not like a major disease, a major issue. They have about a couple of hours on hormone training during the whole medical school education. So women have to go and Google symptoms. They find themselves on Reddit at 2 a.m. trying to find some scraps of information and trying to get some information from those women who are eager to share the stories, like what was happening to them, what worked, what didn't work, etc.
Right, right. And I was reading a study. I'm probably butchering the facts because I don't remember them heart. But um, basically, there was a study that was describing how um, the hormone birth control has um, deep effect in women's decision um, to find a partner, right? The perception of attractiveness, or of a partner, or was affected by birth control, right? And we're learning that now, in this current age, right? And for how long that's has this been happening, right?
Yeah, totally.
Um, so why do you think hormone testing hasn't become a routine part of women's health until now?
I think the main reason is that it hasn't been widely known that hormone testing um, yields any results that you can act on. So as long as the medical professionals do not know what to do with your hormone levels that you get back when you get your results, how do you know that you need to do that testing? So basically what is happening now is women are getting more and more control of their health through I don't know, devices like Oura Ring, Apple Watch. They started using period tracking apps. I think most of the women I know are now using some kind of period tracking. So they started paying more attention to their body, how things are functioning. They're educating themselves. And this is how they basically have to do the hormonal testing, even though the doctor says that they don't have to do that, or basically they don't need to do that. A lot of our customers come to us after being dismissed by their doctor. They say like, I'm 32 and I want to get pregnant maybe in the next 3-4 years. I wanted to have my hormones checked. And my doctor said, you just go try for a year or two. Don't think about anything. So this is the response they keep getting. And it is happening today when there are so many solutions available, including strawberry health. So doctors are still not advocating for routine hormonal testing because they do not know what to do with those numbers.
Right, right. And the once you provide women with um, more insights about their hormones, then they can go to their doctors with more specific questions, which, if they don't know the answers, that kind of triggers okay, now the doctor
Correct.
needs to, do better, right?
Correct. Correct. First of all, they can go to the primary care provider or OBGYN and they can show like their own data, but also be able to, explain their symptoms in a way that medical system understands. For example, we hear oftentimes from doctors that the most common symptom in women like around 40 is like, oh, I don't feel like myself. What kind of symptom is that? So if a woman is able to describe it like, oh, I'm not, like feeling as energized. I feel like my mood swings more often. I feel like I'm not sleeping as well as I used to in my 20s, and I maybe like have difficulty falling asleep. This is a totally different set of symptoms that doctors can actually act on versus just saying, I don't feel like myself. And this is a huge part of that is again like education. And we at Strawberry House do a lot of education through our website, our social media, trying to show women what to look for and what to monitor for, and how, like suffering shouldn't be part of their life, no matter how old they are. It doesn't have to be part of their life, whether it's been like menstrual cramps or, like all kinds of things related to midlife hormonal changes like fatigue, inability to sleep, inability to concentrate, you can do something about that. That is what we are telling every woman we met.
Right, right. Very interesting. Can you walk us through how the at-home hormone testing process works?
Yeah, totally. So our customers go to our website, they share their basic information like name, date of birth, email, and they order the kit that comes to their house. That kit contains the blood collection device that they put on the upper arm. It is absolutely painless collection of the blood sample. So they get the blood sample, they take the tube, put the cap on, put it in the prepaid envelope that we provide, drop it off at FedEx, or they schedule a FedEx pickup, and it goes to the lab. Couple of days later, they get the full results, and not just numbers, but explanation what it means for your health, for your fertility, for your life goals. What are your next steps? If there is something you need to discuss with your provider, with your doctor, we point this out, and they feel totally, prepared to act on their data and not just, get it and do nothing.
Right. And what kind of insights could women expect from the test results?
One of the major insights that is oftentimes a surprise is the how many eggs they have left. A woman is born with all the eggs she will have throughout her whole life. And with each menstruation, she is losing some eggs. And actually, that number that we are testing for anti-Mullerian hormone that shows how many eggs she has left. And that is the number that is extremely important for fertility, especially if you're looking to get pregnant slightly later in life, where your ovarian reserve can diminish faster, and you might be thinking, oh, like I'm ready to build my career for the next 5 years, and then I'm going to think about kids. But if your ovarian reserve is lower, that's a signal that you probably need to, reconsider your plan and maybe look into other ways to structure your life for the next 5 years. Maybe freeze your eggs now and build your career. Maybe have kids slightly earlier so that you have that ability to have kids. And that is one of the main insights, the fertility timeline that each person has. And that is based on the hormone levels that we measure, including anti-Mullerian hormone. Another thing is like how do your other hormones look like? For example, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and that is a way to decode some symptoms. For example, testosterone, which is almost never tested in women, but it is such an important hormone for women's health. It is the hormone of energy, vitality, and you might be doing everything right. Like I am deficient in testosterone myself, and I only found this out after about like 5-6 years of testing blood for everything by my doctor except for testosterone. So they were trying to think it's a iron deficiency or my thyroid issues, but it was my testosterone. So I was feeling tired, more tired than I usually am. And they would come up with all kinds of explanations. Like, of course, because you have a business and a kid. Like, of course, because you're a founder. Of course, because you have changed countries. But I know this is not right for me. I know that this is a very different kind of being tired versus just, take a break and have a proper rest for a couple of days being tired. And I found out my testosterone is too low. So that was such an important insight. I finally felt like I found that root cause, and it gave me so much mental clarity, and just I sighed with relief. Like I wasn't making things up in my mind. it was, here's my data, and it says that I'm deficient in testosterone. And if I boost my testosterone, I'm gonna get my energy and my life back. And this is what is happening right now. So that is another important marker that we are testing for.
Very interesting. Yeah, my I mean that this is another a story related to this, but I think that there is a paradigm that is broken with doctors where they basically do a work operate under limited information, right? And they make this generic and I'm giving a very broad brush to all doctors, so it's not all like that, but the dynamic of you go to the doctor, you get some studies that they send you only when they find that is reasonable, enough to pay for those tests, right? But so many cases that they don't troubleshoot correctly, right? Because they're not deemed worthy from that criteria, and and because they don't have that, they work operate under limited information, right? And then even if they do a study, they do a study once a year or every once in a while, right? So they don't have any other snapshots, right? So that that means that, and then when they review your case again, it's been so long, and they only have two numbers to compare, or even one. So it's hard for them to actually know what is going on with you and your body, right? So being able to um, have the empowerment to make your own studies and have your own insights, and being able to connect the dots, right, and come back with the doctor with those insights. I think that new paradigms is very powerful, right? And I think that's game changing because it's breaking this traditional paradigm that we used to have, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Then
we are
on
so
the other,
glad to see. Yeah, so
oh,
sorry.
go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that on the other hand, I've seen people with the Apple Watch or fitness tracking getting obsessed by the rings or getting obsessed by the metrics, right? Which I don't think that's healthy either, right? But if you have access to your own data of how is your body doing, then without getting obsessed, right? You can have more knowledge and insights and come to a doctor with better insights and following the doctors will know which medicines should not go with which, and getting self-medicated, that's another risk as well. So we do need the doctors as part of this solution, but bringing the insights, it's a whole new game, right?
Totally, totally. Yes. And I was going to say, I'm so happy to see more and more doctors actually being more receptive towards the information that patients are bringing to them. So the doctors who are acknowledging they might not know something because areas like women's health or longevity is developing very fast right now, and it's just impossible to be on top of the things all the time. So we are always telling everyone like you are the best advocate for your own health, and no one is going to advocate for yourself as fiercely as you can. So it's your responsibility to know your body, know what you want, and come prepared when you're talking to the doctor. And it's an interesting thing you mentioned about being obsessed. I think this is another, side of the coin. And a lot of people I know have become obsessed with um, different kinds of things during the pandemic. So those who were not, baking bread were starting doing like ice baths, cold showers, infrared saunas, and all kinds of protocols without even, like second guessing it. Uh, which is great on one hand because you're still doing something, but now we're getting more data about like, okay, this is how it is helpful, and this is the type of people it is helpful for, or like this is where it's more effective. And I was actually It's really interesting to learn that most, not most, but like as long as most studies are done on men, a lot of things that we are considering healthy, like ice baths or, for example, ketogenic diet, are actually not really healthy for women. So this is a very, very interesting, discovery. And I highly encourage every woman who is watching this to follow Dr. Stacy Sims on all things exercise and proper nutrition when it comes to women's health specifically, because women are not small men. And we are kind of just like considering them to be small men for the way we are, anticipating the same results from the protocols that have been widely spread now for ourselves. But yeah, it's very different. And I'm so happy that we have more and more scientists and science-based influencers who are openly share what works, what doesn't work, and why.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that embracing that our bodies are different, um, you know, because with the push of equality is being this concept of we're exactly the same, and and disregarding the differences between biological differences between sexes, right? And I think we should strive towards equality, but also embracing the biological differences that our bodies has, right?
Totally. And the main deal breaker is the hormones. So this is
Right.
why understanding hormones is so important.
Yes, yes. Do, do you think it's also important for men to understand hormones for their own bodies, or is that doesn't make many changes, or it doesn't affect as much?
I think it's really important for men to understand hormones when it comes to fertility challenges. For example, now most of the families I know, when they are finding out they're infertile, they assume that something is wrong with the woman. But in fact, around 30 to 40% of cases might be, connected with the man's body, not the woman's body. And also, I think it's for men, it's really important to understand how testosterone works in their body, what it influences, and how they're going to manage it as they grow older and start losing their testosterone.
Right, right. Yeah, and the usually there is a lot of guilt and shame when that happens, right? Whether it's on the men is I'm not good enough, and then on the women, I'm not good enough as well. But it's different, right? It's a different type of guilt, right? And that's devastating, right? When you get to that point, it's devastating, right?
Yeah, and I think we do not realize how many families actually going through infertility. I think in the United States, it's about one in every like 5 to 6 families who is
Right.
struggling with infertility. So this is way more common. Like say if you have, 5,000 people on LinkedIn, out of those 5,000, 1,000 is probably struggling with infertility. But we still do not share about that openly. So we still assume that something is wrong with us and that is not so common. And this is a very lonely journey.
Right, right. And I can see how, with Strawberry Health, you're helping women and couples to avoid getting to that place, right? Because they can prevent that, by knowing their bodies, right?
Totally, totally. If they start testing slightly sooner than they want to have kids, they will be much better prepared for what's coming next. If they start testing, like if someone is listening to that and that is a woman, no matter age, the time to act is right now. Whether it's your women's health and understanding what's going on in your body, decoding your symptoms, or it is related to understanding where you are in terms of fertility, you should test your hormones right now. Like the sooner you start doing that, the better, because you have more data, you have longitudinal data of how fast your hormones are declining, because they are declining with age, and how your ovarian reserve is declining, because your ovarian reserve is declining every time you menstruate. So you need to understand where you are, and you need to evaluate your, like choices, your strategies, rather than just come, like find something out 5 years from now, and to be faced with the only strategy to go through like IVF, multiple rounds, which are extremely expensive, and it's not easy on your body as well. So test now to be prepared to act on your data and know your options. This is my probably the biggest ask for every woman.
Right. The earlier they know, the more options they have available. Yeah.
Absolutely,
And
of
yeah.
course.
And as you mentioned, IVF is an option, but it's the success rate is very low, right? And it's very expensive. So
It
if
is very expensive indeed.
yeah,
And sooner you think about, like, sooner you understand what's going on, maybe you do a test and you understand that everything looks perfect and you can have that peace of mind for the next couple of years. I still ask women to retest their hormones every year, because things may get start declining sooner, and you never know until you get it tested. And when it comes to such an important thing as building your family, um, somehow we anticipate that it's going to happen magically once we're ready. And it's another thing that is surprising me. Like, if you want to go to college, we're not just praying that we'll get into college and let things happen. We start preparing, we understand where we are financially, academically, logistically, and this is exactly what you need to do if you want to have kids ever in your life. Even if you don't want to have them until like you're 40 and you're 25 now, you need to understand where you are, because when time comes, there might be, like very limited options for you, and you might not be ready, even either like financially or logistically, or you might just not have those years to try for, a couple of years, so they go through 8, 10 IVF rounds. So just test your hormones, understand where you are, and go live your life full of beautiful things.
very beautiful. Yes, yes. I think that the biological ideal age for women to have children is under 20s, right? But I can also understand that modern life as it is now, it's difficult to have kids at that age, right? And so I can understand women would prefer to push that further down the road, right? um but the risks increase in the 30s and the 40s, right? So um
And even for
being able
20 years
to
old, now, you never know what's
oh
happening.
right right so being able to make that decision with more information, I think is important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is just my biggest pet peeve and my biggest, ask for all the women. Just know your data. Don't act on, some myths or some vague numbers like, oh, women's fertility is declining after age 35. You might be perfectly fertile at 40, and your fertility might be decreased at 27. You need to know your data, your own personal data that is as unique as your body is, and act on that, not on some, vague numbers.
Right. What is the most interesting testimonial you heard from your customers? Anyone that you could share, right?
Yes, I will not be sharing names, of course, but a lot of our customers who are doing their testing discover they have lower ovarian reserve, and we know that some are rethinking their, like life priorities, and maybe they're considering freezing eggs. And they have never thought about that. They were thinking, oh, like I'm 32, I still have another maybe 5, 7 years of doing my thing, but they discover that their ovarian reserve is lower for their age, and they want to make sure they have options when they're ready. Some of them do not have partners. Some of them have never thought about fertility. They wanted to do the testing only for their women's health. And actually, our test results motivate them to rethink what they want in life. And they rush and start talking to clinics about freezing their eggs, for example. And they have much more peace of mind, continuing building their career. So we have seen cases like that, which are quite common here in the Bay Area. And a lot of them were like, oh my God, thanks God I discovered it. I was never thinking that is going to be my case. I know people are doing that, but I was never thinking it is applicable to me. And now they're like, I feel so much better. I have done something for my future, and I can continue building my life confidently, no matter what's happening in my life, whether I have a husband, a partner, or, like I'm just feeling like I have different options, and it gives me, confidence. That is a very powerful one.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and also a lot of women discover that the symptoms they're experiencing is not something that is they're making up in their head, and this is actually the first signs of perimenopause. We have seen women who have been feeling depressed and they are being prescribed antidepressants, for example, but it's not helping as much as they wanted them to. So they think like they're broken, something is not working, or some women start to be like more irritable, snapping at their kids, at their husband, and then they do the testing and they discover that they are entering the perimenopause age, which means your hormones fluctuate a lot and it can bring all sorts of symptoms. So we direct them to providers who actually help them manage perimenopause during different strategies, whether it's hormone replacement therapy or lifestyle changes, and most often it's a combination of both. And they feel like their life is back. They're back to themselves. They're feeling the joy of life again. And that is another very, very powerful, motivator for us to continue doing that. Because if a woman says, I finally feel like my life is back, this is something extremely rewarding to hear as a founder.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you're literally changing people's life.
I hope so. Yeah.
So what has been some of the biggest challenges you had building Strawberry so far?
One of the biggest challenges recently for us has been narrowing down our focus because we have so much like demand from everywhere. And I think women's health is so underserved that you have those signals from everywhere like, oh, the clinics need it and people need it and that population needs this and that population needs that. It was challenging to stay focused on one thing, and we've chosen fertility as our current focus because this is where we have seen the most impact currently. But that has been tough. We also wanted to focus on like menopause and perimenopause, and maybe we'll do it as a either like a separate direction of business, slightly later. But that is that was hard to choose between like where do we focus.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I as a founder myself, I know that struggle because it's something like you have to be stubborn enough to ignore the signals, but sensitive enough to hear them, which sounds counterintuitive. But the idea is, you have to choose, you know, uh, you have to ignore the noise of, oh, this is not going to work, or or we're going to have this issue. There's always problems with when we're building something. There's always problems, right? But also on the other
Yep.
hand, we need to listen to the word to see what's going on, to adapt what we're doing to actually be helpful and impactful, right? And that's a very, fine line to navigate, right?
Totally. So thankful you're understanding that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I try not to play the game of what if or what should I or could I, because um, we make the decisions with the limited information that we have, right? So and then we learn maybe that was not the right decision, right? So that type of thinking actually drains our energy to move forward, right? So I
Totally.
rather accept that, okay, we make a mistake on this decision, whatever it is. Okay, now we're going to correct course. Now we're going to move forward, right? Yeah, which is easy to say but hard to do, right?
Right, right. Especially when you think like, oh, but those people, like there's a big market opportunity here. But, you know, staying focused is the only way to grow, I think, as a startup, as the smaller business, and then adding on like verticals or adding on other products.
um, so what are you looking ahead? What is your long-term vision for Strawberry and for the future of fertility care?
Our long vision is that every woman, as soon as she becomes fertile, will start doing testing at least annually to understand what's going on with her body, and she will be able to make those informed decisions. And we are envisioning ourselves as her, women's health bestie, where she can get support, she can get information, she can get all the resources she needs, and also get her own data, um, which is tracked over time. And she has the whole like a blueprint of what was going on in her body in terms of hormones, when she needs to act on that, whether it's like, you know, getting pregnant or transitioning into perimenopause and menopause. She knows her baselines, she understands her dynamics, and she knows exactly what to replenish, when to act, and she will not spend even a week in her life suffering from symptoms she doesn't know how to decode.
Right. Very beautiful vision. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Hope it will come true with all our efforts. It should.
Yes, yes. I think that what you're doing is going to have a lot of impact on women. So I'm looking forward to hear more about what you guys are doing.
Thank you, Federico.
Thank you, Svetlana, for being here today.
Thank you for a wonderful interview. And it was very nice to share stories.
Yeah, it was great to hear you and learn more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.